Major development for East Coast football today. And I know the Panthers are not the NFC East, even though they're several hundred miles, maybe even 1,000+ miles east of where the Dallas Cowboys play in Arlington/Grand Prairie, Texas. But the Panthers are in the NFC South. But regardless of that, whatever. Big moves out of the AFC East, at least, with Sam Darnold, former top 3 pick in the NFL draft in 2018. I want to say went number 3 overall to the Jets, headed to Carolina. And I like this trade a lot for both teams because there's really a lot to like. The Jets get a fresh start. They get to take a better prospect at number 2 overall than what Sam Darnold was coming out of USC, and I was pretty vocal about that. I wasn't a huge Sam Darnold guy, but there is definitely potential there. We'll talk about that for the Panthers here in a minute. But for the Jets, you get to go with Zach Wilson. Maybe even like Justin Fields better. Maybe you like Trey Lance better at 2, although I doubt it. I think it's probably Zach Wilson number 2. And Wilson, Fields, and Lance are both better than Darnold was coming out. This is a really strong quarterback class. We all know that. But the Jets get a fresh start, new quarterback to go with their new head coach in Robert Saleh. I love this. What are the Jets getting in return? Well, nothing major this year, just a 6th rounder. But they are getting a 2nd as well as a 4th rounder next year. And if the Panthers aren't like that good, which they might not be, this is a big way to bet on them, because this pick could be somewhere close to the top of the 2nd round in 2022. So the Jets could be getting a top 45 pick for Sam Darnold, which was probably about the top end of what they would have been expecting anyway. Sam Darnold was never going to return a 1st-round pick. But I do like it for the Panthers as well. And why do I like it for the Panthers? Well, the job for Sam Darnold should be fairly easy. And not easy. Playing quarterback in the National Football League clearly is not easy. But when you have an offensive coordinator like Joe Brady that is an offensive mastermind, and then you bring back Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be healthy in 2021, we all hope, and Robbie Anderson, who broke out last year, DJ Moore, who's one of the better receivers in the NFL. Well, things are starting to come together. And if the Panthers are in on Sam Darnold potentially being the guy, which I think they're taking a gamble on, they're not really giving up a whole lot, but they're probably not looking at quarterback at number 8. They're not going to trade up for a quarterback, you'd have to think. So what are the Panthers going to do? Well, you are in a big-time position if Kyle Pitts falls. You can get Kyle Pitts to plug in right at tight end, be a versatile weapon on that offense, and then you have so many guys that you really just can't account for. Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts moving all around the field, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. It's not really that bad of an offensive line, but I think the Panthers could also look to go offensive line in the draft. I'm going to have an updated mock draft coming out, so if you are not subscribed to this channel, we just hit 300K. You guys are amazing, but make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Scroll down. It's completely free. You can unsubscribe at any time, although I really hope that you don't as we push towards 400,000 subscribers now. But the Panthers are in a position where they can really just go best player available. And when you're picking in the draft and you can just go BPA, it takes a lot of the load off, man, because you're not really hard pressed. You're not talking about reaches down the board. You just say, hey, we're going to take the best player that can help us win. And maybe that's a tight end. Maybe it's even a receiver. Maybe it's an offensive lineman. They could upgrade that defense, which is really not particularly great, even though they do have a number of playmakers. They addressed the defensive line big time last year with Derek Brown, took Yetur Gross-Matos inside the top 2. You brought in Jeremy Chin, who was really good last year, although not a D lineman, is a guy that plays in the box a lot of the time, despite being a safety. You can get a big time corner. You could get the best corner on the board, whether you find that to be Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, maybe take a shot at Caleb Farley, or you trade down. The Panthers are in a dream draft spot. They didn't really give up a lot to get Sam Darnold, and they will exercise his 5th-year option. So Darnold is going to be on this team for probably at least 2 years, you'd expect. But they might also look to extend him during that time if he warrants it. But the 5th-year option is just saying, hey, we're going to see what you can do. We want you. We're committed to you probably for the next 2 years. But, you know, they don't have to even think about extending him long term. It's a great picture, by the way, of Carolina's maybe future franchise quarterback. But even though I didn't love Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold has been really, really individually bad, you cannot ignore his terrible situation where there really weren't a lot of offensive weapons. The play calling was bad, and the offensive line wasn't anything special either. Darnold is absolutely going to a better situation in Carolina, and I don't even know if the weapons are the biggest part of it. I think a lot of guys are going to point to Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, who broke out last year, as we talked about. But I think the biggest single element of whether Sam Darnold succeeds or fails now in the NFL is on the back of Joe Brady, who is an incredibly creative offensive mind, who's a great play caller that will make life easier for Sam Darnold like Adam Gase did not do in New York. Now let's look at the projected depth chart for the Panthers in 2021. Obviously the receivers are pretty good. They picked up David Moore, who could be a solid third or fourth option for them. There's not a whole ton else at wide receiver, but you have two pretty good options in Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. They could even go receiver at number 8 overall if they want to, depending on what's there. They made some really good signings in free agency as well. Of course, I think they franchise tagged Taylor Moton, which was definitely a good move. Did they franchise tag him? I think they franchise tagged Moton. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, Moton did get the franchise tag. He's a really good offensive lineman, but they picked up Cam Irving, who could be a difference maker for them. He's not really a great tackle option, but he's a fine backup if you want to draft a tackle inside the top 10. Pat Elflein is a good impact starter. Matt Paradis, we know, could be a really, really good center. That was a nice signing they made a couple years ago now, right? Yeah, they brought him in 2019. And then John Miller, he was in Buffalo for a little while. John Miller isn't anything special, but I think he's a fine starting right guard, and maybe he'll even take a step up. On top of that, they have some great players on defense. They signed Hassan Reddick, got him on a super cheap prove-it deal. Now, the inside of their defensive line isn't great unless you factor in that Yeturgos Matos probably won't have to come off the edge now, and he used to be a guy you rotate around the defensive line. He could be like an edge setter in their base 4-3, and then Hassan Reddick can be more of that pass rusher in rush situations and play off the ball otherwise. And then your Yeturgos Matos can be that inside like defensive tackle on like pure passing downs. Brian Burns, we know. I love Brian Burns. He's fantastic off the edge. Derek Brown was great as a rookie. And then you have Dante Jackson is an impact playmaker. Rashaan Melvin is not ideal, but is fine. Jeremy Chin's like was great for a rookie. They've got some really good players, but obviously some major holes as well. I'd see them upgrade DB in a number of different spots. Like Justin Burris is not exactly an ideal starter. Rashaan Melvin isn't great, but there's not much cornerback depth after Dante Jackson. So you could really look to go corner in the draft, safety in the draft. Multiple linebackers could be taken as well. I think Jeremy Chin could even play more of a like regular linebacker role, and they could get even 2 more safeties in the draft. It's a pretty good safety class, in my opinion. Like no real major standouts. Like Trayvon Merrick's a consensus safety 1, but it's not like he is the type of player that Jamal Adams was coming out, or even going back a lot farther or further to like a center field type player, and Earl Thomas, who was a top 10 pick in 2010. Like there's no one like that in this class, but there are a bunch of really good safeties that could help out the Panthers quite a lot. I think a player in round 2 they would look to target is a Javon Holland, who could play over the top. They don't really have a player like that already. And they can also look to play him in the slot as a nickel corner. So a guy like Javon Holland, I think, would fit this team really, really well. But the Panthers are clearly serious about contending, and I think this move for Darnold is a good one. I really don't have any major complaints with this. Obviously, I've been super critical of Sam Darnold because I think it's been warranted. He really hasn't been that great of a player. But if you're banking on his future, putting him with a great offensive coordinator and weapons all around him, and even potentially getting another one inside the top 10, I think the Panthers are in a really, really good spot. It is a very competitive NFC South. The Saints have been competitive forever. The Bucs won the Super Bowl last year, and the Falcons are a team that's so hit or miss. It's a really strong division, but when you look about which teams are trending upwards versus which teams are trending downward, the Saints are trending down. The Falcons have been trending down, especially with 2 older quarterbacks. They're with Tom Brady in Tampa. He's down as well. Drew Brees obviously retired from the Saints, but you know what I'm talking about with these older quarterbacks leaving and the primes about these teams maybe coming to an end. The Bucs probably will be good for another couple of years minimum. The Saints, I think, will always figure out a way, but they're trending down. The Bucs aren't trending down as much as they won the Super Bowl, but you get what I'm saying with these older players and how their like 3-year outlook looks. So I like the Panthers quite a lot. Darnold obviously is going to have to prove it. Panthers took a shot on him. Like, he hasn't done much. This is going to be a big year for him in 2021, and it will be a big year in 2022. and the Panthers seem to be committed to him then as well. So let me know what you think about this trade down in the comments section below. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. I would say the Panthers didn't really give up a lot and could get their franchise guy. So Panthers, you did very well. And the Jets, it was clear Sam Darnold was not your guy. Go out there, draft a QB at 2, and get a future probable good pick in 2022. So I'm a big fan of this trade all the way around. I think this is honestly one of the most perfect spots Sam Darnold could have ended up on. I think San Francisco was another one that was talked about. It would have been a really good fit for Darnold as well. But I think Carolina is right up there as well. I think teaming up with Joe Brady is incredible. But again, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'm going to have a new mock draft coming out where the Panthers, unlike some of my previous mock drafts, are not going to be moving up for a quarterback. We'll have to see. That should be coming out maybe even as early as tomorrow. And then my receiver rankings hopefully should be up in the next couple of days as well. And then Desperado's franchise, whatever. So I will see you guys in the next one. So much to say, but take it easy.
I hit it at the park, Ben Bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah, promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah. Pump and turn, taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speedbird's good.